my first good guitar when I started playing at 10, and at 12, my father bought me a really nice 335, and it got stolen. And so when the insurance money came in, I went down and I bought a Barney Kessel, believe it or not. And then I found that it just wasn't that, it didn't do everything I wanted it to do. And it was feeding back, so I took it in and I traded in on a new reissue Goldtop 1968 Les Paul. And this had P90s at the time. Santana was just finishing their second record, and I was not in the band yet, but I was hanging out with them, and we were recording at nighttime downstairs in another studio, just jamming. And we're jamming one night, we're working on songs that became No One to Depend On and Batuka off the third record. And in walks Clapton, and he sits down. I'm like kind of in shock. I didn't know what to say. I was just like some little kid, and I'm playing, and we played for about 2 hours, and then he was in town playing with Derek and the Dominoes, and he left, and I was just so in awe because he was like one of my guitar heroes that I learned so much how to play from. And I walked into Wally Heider's that day, and he said that he contacted me, wanted me to go over to Berkeley and play with him that night with Derek and the Dominoes. So I got somebody to drive me over there. I took this guitar, and he set me up with some Sun Coliseum 1000 amp and a chord. Heavy effects. And we showed up backstage. I barely got there in time, and they were going on, and he asked me to come, and they were going to do 8 songs, and he says, and then I'll just introduce you as a good friend. You come on stage and finish the whole set with us. And so this is the guitar that was on that, stage with him too as well. And then he asked me to join the band that night. I went back to the hotel with him, and he was like so blown away by my playing, and I was really emulating him, pretty much back then. But I guess he liked listening to himself. And so he asked me to join the band, and I had just gotten asked that day, in the middle of the day, to join Santana. But he asked me to go over to London and move there, and I said, I can't leave right now. I just joined these guys, and I was living with Raleigh, and had like a history already with them, and they just asked me that day to join. And so I wanted to play obviously in both bands, but can't be two places at once. This is the guitar that was on the first Santana, first album I ever played on Santana 3, and this is the guitar that you hear that I'm exchanging all the solos with Carlos throughout that record. This was on Everybody's Everything, which was like, I believe, our #1 single off that record, with Power playing horns. Carlos played bass and rhythm guitar on it, and I played lead on the single, and it went #1. And so this one was like, had that notorious wah-wah sound that I was kind of doing way back before everybody else was doing it, using a wah-wah like a filter. And it went through a lot of changes. I played it on all those records on all across the world. This has been in Ghana, Africa, you name it. It's been everywhere. Soul to Soul with Santana, and everywhere Santana played throughout Europe, because they were huge everywhere, the States and Europe. And then Santana disbanded with those band members, and Greg Raleigh and I left, and I started Journey with our ex-manager Herbie Herbert, and then Greg came into that as well. But at that point, I put humbuckers in this, and these are not the same humbuckers that came in at their like 59, whatever Gibson was making, replacements for Les Pauls back then. And it made it on Look Into the Future, all those early Journey records. That was this guitar and an old 59 triple pickup Les Paul that I had, but this was the one that sounded good. The 59 just looked cool. It didn't sound that good, and so I ended up selling that. But this guitar has got some miles on it. Been on a lot of records, second Journey record, third Journey record, it might have been on a couple tracks, mainly the second record. It's got the original frets, and this neck is really unique, man. A 68 Les Paul, you know, reissue. It was one of my favorite necks ever. It's wide, and it's thin this way, and just always sounded great. The frets were at the right height. You know, they're not skinny, they're like wide, but they're flat. So you hear a lot of the wood with the guitar, you know, when you're playing it. And so that's the story on this one. And, but that's it, man.